Sarah, thanks so much for joining us. You're here today to speak to us all about Breast Cancer Awareness Month, which runs through the month of October from the 1st to the 31st, and it's an important time to raise awareness over breast cancer. So, firstly, can you tell me a little bit about what the month is and why it happens?
Well, thanks for having me, Baker. Breast Cancer Awareness Month, as you've just mentioned, it runs from the start to the end of October every single year, and it's that time of year when we learn more about breast cancer, how to spot the signs and symptoms, and where to get help, and just to generally kind of raise awareness of what breast cancer is. It's also a key time for fundraising and trying to raise money to put towards research into treatments and prevention. So it's all about understanding your own risks and knowing what to look out for and supporting those who are affected by breast cancer. And we like to do things like wear pink just to, and little badges there, you can't quite see that, just to raise awareness and get people thinking about breast cancer. So that's why we do it throughout the whole of October. That's always Breast Cancer Awareness Month.
Maybe I should have put my sparkly pink jacket on for this now, but left it at home, unfortunately. But if we talk about, who breast cancer affects, because it's important to know, can you tell me a little bit about that?
Yeah, so breast cancer can actually affect anyone, male or female, though it's most common in females over the age of 50.
And can you tell us a little bit about the signs and the symptoms that people should be looking out for with this?
So I think the main thing to stress is anything that's not normal for you. So I'm going to list a couple of different things here that you might not remember, but it's about knowing what's normal for you and spotting any changes and seeing going to see your GP if you've got any changes. But things like a new lump or a feeling of thickening in the breast or under the arm, there's changes in size or shape of the breasts, dimpling or thickening of the skin on the breast. It might be nipple changes, such as an inversion or a discharge, or even just persistent redness or irritation on or around on the breast or around the nipple. So really, it's anything that is not normal for you that lasts more than 2 weeks. You go to get that checked out, absolutely. And it's really important that you catch these signs and symptoms early and not just leave them and think it'll go away and leave it indefinitely.
That's one of the important things as well, isn't it? Catching things early, because, like you say, it can make a huge difference. And you mentioned all of these potential signs that you can look out for, and potential changes. And like you said there, a couple of weeks, and then if something doesn't go away, then it's probably best to contact your GP and see what they say about it.
Yeah, absolutely. First part of call is always your GP practice. Go and get it checked out, and they'll know what to do. They'll be able to either reassure you that there's nothing to worry about, or they'll say that you need to go for some further tests, which is again still nothing to worry about. They just want to rule out that it's not cancer.
It's all for peace of mind, like you say, and before people even do go to their GPs, they can check themselves at home, for any potential changes like the ones you've just listed there for us. So how can people do this and check themselves at home?
Again, there's no right or wrong way to do that, and you're the expert of your own body. You know what your own body is like, and it's just, again, looking for any changes. So you can do things like you could look in the mirror and have a look and see if there's any physical changes that you can actually see, any visible changes, whether that's reddening or a rash or anything like that. You can have a look and see in the mirror. And then the best place really to look and feel is in the shower or in the bath while you've got your shower gel on your hand, is just to rub over and to feel. But it's really important that you don't just think of your breast as sort of the circle of the breast. Actually, it's right up to your collarbone, and it's also underneath your armpit as well, because that's where breast cancer and changes and things can occur. So it's really important to check at home on a regular basis.
Again, it goes to say, doesn't it, that getting checked early could prevent something really serious happening. So it's really important that people do this, and if something feels off, do contact their GP. And breast screening, Sarah, can you tell me a little bit about that too? Or some people may know it's a mammogram. It's an X-ray, and this can detect breast cancer too before symptoms even appear. So I believe this is something people can get done, breast screening.
It is. So breast screening is open to women aged over 50, and once you turn 50, you'll be invited within 2 years. You'll be invited to go and have a mammography, and that is simply a screening. It's an X-ray of the breast tissue. And what they do is the screening can spot any signs of lumps or cancerous cells before you can actually feel a lump yourself. So it can spot it early. And the key is to spot breast cancer early, because that will literally save your life. So, but yeah, people can go for screening. If you're invited for screening, you should go. The reason that screening takes place for women over the age of 50 is because the breast tissue becomes less dense then, so it's more, you get a better picture. When you're younger, your breast tissue is more dense, and it's not as accurate. Also, breast cancer normally occurs in women aged predominantly over 50, but that's not to say that you wouldn't get breast cancer while you're earlier, which is why it's important to check and to feel. My mum was actually diagnosed with breast cancer at the age of 39, so she was a long way off her going for mammograms. But yeah, it does, and there are cases. Kylie Minogue was diagnosed with breast cancer at 33. There's no sort of hard and fast rule. The best line of defence is to know your body and to look out for changes and spot them early.
It doesn't discriminate, does it? So I think that's an important thing to touch upon. And is there any kind of tips that you'd recommend for reducing discomfort when going for breast screening? Because it can be a daunting thing as it is, and people might worry even more about might feel uncomfortable. So is there any tips you can kind of advise on for people that are thinking of going?
Yeah, so it can be uncomfortable because your breast tissue is kind of squashed between two plates. But what you can try to do is organise your appointment so that it's after your period, not before it when your breasts are feeling tender anyhow. So you are actually automatically sent an appointment from the breast screening unit. But if that falls in that week where your breasts would normally be tender, you could try to contact them to rearrange that for a time when obviously they're going to be less sensitive. The other thing you can do is just for your own peace of mind, your own comfort, is just to wear 2 different items of clothing. Don't go in a dress. And then obviously you can you only need to take your top half off, so you can just take your top half off, and also let the mammographer know if you're feeling anxious, because obviously they do this every day. They're working with ladies every day to do breast screening, and they can help to make you feel more relaxed, more comfortable. They can talk you through the procedure, which they will do anyhow. But if they know you're anxious, they'll be able to help put your mind at ease. And remember, it only takes, literally, we're talking a couple of minutes at max, and the benefit is that it gives you peace of mind that that you haven't got any early signs of cancer.
That's a massive benefit, like you say, and it's important that people do get it done if they are invited. And can you tell us, I know you mentioned it's mainly for women over the age of 50, but can you tell us a little bit about who is eligible for it, and when you'll typically get an invite to go for your breast screening?
Yeah, so anybody that is registered with the GP as female are invited for the NHS breast screening every 3 years between the ages of 50 and 71. So your first invite will usually come between the ages of 50 and 53, as I mentioned earlier, and that's because you're invited every 3 years, and they kind of work round on postcodes and areas, so that's why you might have just missed it as you turn 50, but you will be picked up within those 3 years. And then for trans and non-binary people, it depends on how you're registered with your GP. So you might get an automatic invite, or you may need to contact your local breast screening service directly if you do want to be invited. But the key thing here again is to make sure that you're registered with your GP practice.
Like you say, it's all for peace of mind, so it's really vital information to take away. If somebody notices changes, like the ones we mentioned earlier, the list of signs that you listed, what can they expect when they go and make a GP appointment?
Yeah, so obviously the GP will ask about any of your signs and symptoms that you've experienced, so the reason why you've got the appointment. They'll ask if you've attended any previous breast screening, obviously depending on your age, and they'll also look into your family history of breast cancer as well, because breast cancer can be genetic, so it can run in families. That is quite, it's not particularly common, but it does happen, so they will ask about that. And then if it's necessary, they might carry out an examination while you're there at the GP surgery, and you'll be asked to undress from the waist up, so that you'll be behind a screen, obviously, and it's all very private. But it's best, if you are going to see the GP and there is a chance that you're going to be examined, it's best to wear separate clothing, so you can just take that piece off that you need to. But the GP will obviously make you feel comfortable. And if you want to, you can actually bring somebody with you if that makes you feel more comfortable about going to see them. And then if the GP thinks that you do need further checks, then they might refer you to the breast clinic. So normally under a 2-week referral, which means that you'll be seen quite quickly. This doesn't mean that you have cancer. It just means that they'd like some further checks or some further investigations to make sure that everything's checked out, and to rule out that it's not cancer.
Fantastic. And if we move on to potential myths around breast cancer, there's a list in front of us now, and there's some that stick out to me, like a lump is only the sign, wearing underwire bras or using deodorant causes cancer, and then really one at the top that does stick out a lot is only women get breast cancer, because I believe it does occur in men too. So can you address some of these myths and how true some of them are and how false a lot of them may be?
I can talk about these. So I think the first one, only women get breast cancer, that is definitely a myth. And while there aren't many males that do get breast cancer, there's still 300 a year, and actually males have the same breast tissue as females. They just don't have the ducts that are used obviously for milk supply, but they do have the same sort of, they don't look the same obviously, but they do have the same type of tissue as females. They have nipples also, so men can get breast cancer, and as I think I mentioned, 300 men a year are diagnosed with breast cancer, so it is not just a female only cancer. So that's one myth to obviously to quash there. The other one, that a lump is the only sign. Obviously, at the start of our chat, I mentioned there are lots of different signs and symptoms to look out for. The lump's probably the most common one that people think about, and that's what they generally feel for. But actually, a red patch or a rash, or changes to the shape of the nipple. Everybody's nipples are different shapes and sizes anyhow, but if yours changes shape, that's what you need to look out for. Again, that thickening kind of feeling, it's not necessarily a lump, but the tissue just feels different. And you've got to remember as well that obviously women, girls who have periods, your breasts change throughout the month anyhow, so you are used to those changes of them feeling tender or feeling heavier, or those kind of changes. So it's different from those kind of changes. That's what you've kind of got to look out for. The myth around wearing underwire bras and using deodorants and things like that can cause cancer, I think realistically you've got to look at the facts, that there's no scientific evidence to support this. They're just rumours. They're coincidences. A lot of people wear underwire bras. A lot of people wear underwire bras that don't have breast cancer. So I think those are just myths.
It's one of them things, isn't it? There'll always be things thrown about, but you've got to really look at the facts and what information is true. So thank you very much for explaining a little bit about those. And I wanted to ask about what's next, Sarah, because if you haven't received a letter by the time you're 53 and think you should have, what steps can people potentially take to get one then if they do wish to take up the offer on breast screening but haven't had that letter, like we say?
Yeah, I think initially check out with your GP that you're registered and that your name should have been picked up as part of the screening. But then you can also contact the breast screening unit directly to find out if you're on their lists or why you haven't been invited.
And as a little bit of a call to action, what would you say to people that are thinking about having this done, or potentially notice something unusual and are a little bit, frightened to get checked out?
I think my key message for everybody is that you've really got to look after yourself and you've really got to take care of yourself, and you only get one life. So if you spot something that is unusual for you, that's not normal for you, you go and get it checked out straight away at your GP practice. Do not leave it. Do not, leave it for weeks or months or think it'll go away. You always go and get it checked out. And I suppose my other key message as well as that is, you're being aware for yourself, but then if you're offered screening and there's that opportunity to look and find and spot things even earlier than yourself, could have found things, then always take up any opportunity to go and be screened. It's a little bit inconvenient, it takes time out of your day, but it is well worth it to know in advance if there are any potential problems down the road. It's much better finding it
absolutely
earlier. You've got much better chances of survival. Treatment options are better. There's more treatment options. It's just definitely better all round. So that's my advice.
That's the key message. Like you're saying, it's really important. Hopefully people can listen to this and take it away. But finally, there's lots of useful websites out there too that can provide information if people are after more and seeking more. So can you tell us some of the best ones to go and look at for that?
I think my go-to is always Cancer Research UK. I think they've got a fantastic website, so that's always really good to look at. We've got Breast Cancer Now, which is also a great website. You've got Copperfield, which is quite a trendy kind of campaign charity, again raising awareness of breast cancer. And then you've also got ones like Macmillan Cancer Support and the NHS website as well.
Fantastic, and hopefully this will provide people with the information that they need and can help people that are after it. So Sarah, thank you so much for joining us again and explaining all about Breast Cancer Awareness Month.